Good afternoon, learners. My name is Atreya Sinha. I am Academic Officer English from National Institute of Open Schooling. Today we will learn the lesson The Crow and Deer, which is included in our senior secondary English course, which is coded as 302 as lesson number 1. And this is a story of friendship and deceits from Hitopadesha, one of the classical literature of India. Now, before starting the lesson, we must learn about the learning outcomes. So, first of all, after completing the lesson, the learner recollects and explains a story in English. The learner uses language appropriate to social context, infers agreement and disagreement with reasons, and learner will also be able to categorize characteristics and style of early Sanskrit literature, as I have already told that this is a story adapted from Hitopadesha. Now, learners will also be able to appraise the value of true friendship through this story titled as The Crow and the Deer. As we already have read the story in our previous classes, so first of all, let's recollect or recapitulate the whole story once again. Then we will proceed for the literary terms and the rhetorics and the grammar and writing sections embedded in this lesson. So, in the first section, we have read that in Magadha Desh, so the setting of the story is in Magadha Desh. And if you have already read in your history book that Magad was a kind of a state of ancient India, and Magad was very powerful at that time, if you could remember. Now, the story is set in that ancient India and ancient Magad Pradesh, Magad state, Magad province, I must say. So, in Magadha Desh, there was a vast forest called Champakvati. So, there was a forest named Champakvati, and it's a vast forest. I mean, it was a widespread forest, where a crow named Subuddhi and a deer named Chitrang lived in a close friendship. One day, a jackal named Shudra Buddhi spotted the plump deer and wanted to make him his meal. And to gain the deer's trust, the jackal approached him and expressed a desire for friendship, claiming to have been lonely. Now, the deer, Chitrang, agreed to be friends with the jackal, and they went to the deer's residence together. There, Subuddhi, the crow, who warned Chitrang about the dangers of forming a friendship with a stranger who suddenly appeared. And the crow cited an example of a cunning cat causing the death of an innocent old vulture due to misplaced trust. Now starts the section 2. While this section contains the story within the story. So the crow now responding to the curiosity of the deer and the jackal, and he tells the story about an innocent old vulture and a cunning cat. Now this tale takes place near the Ganges river on a hilly peak with a giant fig tree. The vulture's name was Jaradgave. He had lost his eyes and talons and relied on the other birds for small shares of their meals. So, in the fig tree, on that fig tree, on the hilly region of the side by the Ganges river, there was many other birds, and all the birds shared some portion of their meals to that vulture named Jaradgave. Now, one day, a cat named Dirghakarna arrived with the intention of eating the vulture's nestlings. He decided to approach the vulture and gain his confidence. He introduced himself to the vulture, who initially threatened to kill him. However, the cat made a plea for his life, and he questioned whether one should be judged solely based on their race. And he also suggests that one's actions should also be considered, not only by their race. Now comes the third section of the story. So as the cat started criticizing, the vulture felt guilty. So we are still in the story within the story, and the cat Dirghakarna now started criticizing the vulture because he at first point as soon as he saw the cat and he found that the cat is dangerous for them. Now he felt guilty as the cat started criticizing him. Now he explained that he was concerned about his nestling's safety, since cats are known to prey on birds. Now the cat continued to pretend to be genuinely pious and convinced the vulture that he had given up violence and was a follower of non-violence. As a result, the vulture allowed the cat to stay in the hollow. So the cat now wins over the confidence of the vulture. However, the cat's true intentions were revealed when he started catching and eating the vulture's young birds, young nestlings. The distressed birds discovered the bones of their chicks in the hollow, and this led to the birds turning against the vulture. And all of the birds started accusing the vulture of the act and eventually killed the vulture. So, without any wrong intention, without doing any sin, the vulture was killed. Right? Now the crow Subuddhi in the fourth section warns the deer not to trust a stranger, and to make the deer understand this focal point, he uses the tail of a vulture and the cunning cats as an example. Now the crow Subuddhi emphasizes the importance of knowing the character and background of someone before forming a deep friendship. The cat pretended to be righteous but eventually betrayed the vulture by eating the vulture's nestlings. Subuddhi's point is that trust shouldn't be given lightly. The jackal, however, questions Subuddhi's own friendship with the deer, and he very cleverly pointed out that Subuddhi was also a stranger to the deer when they first met. Now the jackal argues that true friendship shouldn't be based on selfish concerns but on broader benevolent values. The deer now wants to avoid unnecessary debate among his friends. Now he suggests that they all live together in faith, friendship and affection, and they all agreed somehow. Now we will move on to the fifth section. Here we have seen that one day when they were all alone, the jackal told the deer about a field full of crops and offered to take him there. Now the deer trusted the jackal and began going to that field daily to eat the crops. Now the farmer, who was the owner of that field, seeing the deer damaging his crops, laid a trap to catch him. The deer was caught in the trap, and he believed that only his friend, the jackal, Shudrabuddhi, could rescue him in this difficult moment. Now, the jackal arrived there and secretly rejoiced because his plan had succeeded, and he imagined enjoying a delicious feast once the deer was killed by the farmer, by the landlord. But on the other hand, the deer was very happy to see the jackal, and he asked him to break the trap and help him to escape. But the deer, further the deer quoted a wise saying that true friends, brave people, loving spouses and supportive relatives are proven in times of difficulty. Good relatives and friends stand by you in suffering, during political trouble and even in death. Before responding, the jackal at first examined the trap to ensure that the deer was truly stuck. And the jackal then pretended that he couldn't bite the string trap because it was Sunday. He claims that it was against his custom or belief. He gave a false excuse and said he would help the deer the next day, and he promised actually. But then the jackal went and hid nearby, and he started waiting for the deer to die so he could eat him. So the jackal lures the deer into a fertile green land, but when the deer finds itself trapped, the jackal sees this as an opportunity to fulfill his desire for a feast of deer meat. So when he appears at the scene, the deer pleads with the jackal to quickly free him, and he emphasizes the importance of friends and family during the time of crisis. However, the jackal, feeling reluctance, pretends that he cannot release the deer due to some superstitious reasons involving not touching the snares made of strings. He suggests waiting until morning to help the deer. Then the jackal hides nearby, planning to enjoy the deer as his meal. Now we will move on to the sixth section, where we have seen that meanwhile the crow noticed the deer was missing, and he became anxious, searched everywhere, and at last discovered the deer trapped in the net. The crow was surprised and upset to see the deer in such a bad situation. He asked what had happened. Then the deer admitted that this happened because he had not listened to the crow's earlier warning, and he quoted a wise saying that those who ignore good advice bring disaster upon themselves and help their enemies. But the crow asked the deer where the jackal, the deceiver, but the deer replied that the jackal, wanting to eat him, he somehow by the time he could understand that the actual intention of the jackal, so he replied that the jackal wanting to eat him and must be hiding somewhere close. Now the crow reminded the deer of what he had warned earlier. The crow then quotes that just because you don't harm someone doesn't mean that they won't harm you, especially if they are wicked. Evil people don't care about good or bad. They often take advantage of kind, innocent individual. This then he quoted some verse and which tells that when someone is about to die, they lose all sense. Just like the deer who can't see an extinguishing lamp, hear wise words, or spot distant stars like Arundhati. The deer had ignored good advice in his moment of danger. A person who pretends to be your friend but harms you secretly is dangerous, like poison hidden in a pot that looks like it contains milk. You must never trust such people. The crow, deeply pained, expressed his grief. He called out the jackal for his cruel betrayal. Then the crow quoted another truth, that people who are too trusting, hopeful, or greedy are easily fooled by clever liars. Then the crow was upset and asked how the Mother Earth even allows such evil creatures to exist, though who harm the innocent. Then the crow advised the deer that one should avoid friendships with wicked people. Hot coals burn you and cold ones dirty you. Both causes harm. So just because someone talks nicely doesn't mean that they are good. A wicked person may speak sweetly while hiding evil intentions, just like the jackal. The next morning, the crow saw the farmer coming towards the trap with a stick. The crow quickly advised the deer to pretend to be dead by puffing out his stomach and stiffening his legs. And the crow told the deer to run away fast as soon as he gave a signal like a sound. Then the farmer was excited to see what he thought was a dead deer and exclaimed in delight. Thinking the deer was dead, the man loosened the trap and began to rolling up the net. But the deer followed the crow's instruction exactly. As soon as he heard the crow's signal, the deer quickly stood up and ran off. The farmer gets very angry that the deer escaped, threw his stick pointing at the deer, but it missed the deer, but hit and killed the jackal who was hiding nearby. So the deer barely escaped. So in this section we have seen that the trapped deer questions the situation. The crow was in search, the crow reached the field where the deer was entrapped, and he helped the deer to escape. So till now we have recapitulated the whole story once again. Now we will move on to the grammar section and the thematic explanation and character analysis of this lesson. But before that, let's have a short break.
प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने। जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो, धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो। कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोट से युक्त हो, कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोट से युक्त हो। मित्रों हम उठे और जागे, मंजिल आने की ध्वनि सुने, अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने। जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालय का द्वार खुला सबकी खातिर। शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर। शिक्षा परीक्षा का
Welcome back, learners. So, as we have already recapitulated the whole story once again, now let's jump to the character analysis of the story. So, at first we have the crow Subuddhi. Subuddhi means noble wit. Now, Subuddhi, as we can see in this story, was wise and cautious. From the beginning, he doubts the jackal's intentions and warns the deer against befriending the strangers. He was a very loyal friend because he cares deeply for the deer's safety and later saves him from the trap with his intelligence. Through proverbs, saying and moral lessons, the crow represents prudence and foresight, and in this story he becomes the voice of wisdom. He acts as the protector and guide in the story. His wisdom ensures the deer survives and the jackal meets his end. Then the second character is the deer, Chitrang. Chitrang means multicolored. He easily accepts the jackal's friendship and he ignores the crow's warning. It proves that he is very innocent and trusting. He is also naive but teachable. He makes mistakes due to his simple-hearted nature, his innocence, but later admits his fault and it shows his humility. He shows joy when he thinks the jackal will save him and sorrow when he realizes the crow's warning was right. And in this story, he represents innocence and the dangers of misplaced trust. Yet he learns from experience and is saved by wisdom. Now, the third important character in this story is the jackal, Shudra Buddhi, that means small wit. He pretends to be very friendly, but secretly plans to kill and eat the deer. So he is cunning and deceptive in nature. He is manipulative. He uses sweet words and false arguments to gain trust. He is also very greedy and selfish. He sees the deer only as food, not as a friend. He also makes excuses like not biting the trap on Sunday to delay helping the deer. So in this story, he is the villain. His deceit ultimately leads to his downfall when the farmer kills him. So there is a poetic justice in the story as the jackal was killed, unfortunately, but he was killed. So in short, the crow shows the wisdom, loyalty and the importance of listening to good advice. The deer represents the innocence, vulnerability and the need to heed wise counsel. The jackal was cunning, betrayal and the danger of trusting strangers with hidden motives. If we quickly analyze the characters and make some differentiation chart, then it looks like that the character that the crow Subuddhi was wise, cautious, loyal and protective, where the deer is innocent, trusting, emotional and humble. Jackal was cunning, manipulative, greedy and selfish. This is the characteristic traits of these three characters. So now some of these characters have some strengths. Like the crow's strength is his intelligence, his foresight, loyalty. Deer's strength is his kind-heartedness, his ability to learn from mistakes. The jackal's strength is his cleverness in plotting, persuasive speech. But also the jackal has some weakness like dishonesty, cowardly and overconfidence. Now, the crow symbolizes wisdom, loyalty and the value of good advice in this story. The deer symbolizes innocence, vulnerability and humility, and the jackal symbolizes deceit, betrayal and the danger of false friendship. Now, as we have already have summed up the whole characteristics, traits of this main characters of this story justly, then we will move on to the grammar section. In this chapter, simple past tense, the grammar portion, simple past tense is embedded. Now, how we can identify the simple past tense? So, on the slide, you can see 3 sentences. First, in the forest, there lived a crow and a deer in fast friendship. Once a jackal saw the healthy, fleshy and plumpy deer roaming freely in the forest. And the third sentence, in its hollow, there dwelt a vulture named Jaradgave. So the first sentence, the verb lived, the main verb lived in the forest, there lived, lived is highlighted. In the second section, the main verb saw is highlighted, and the dwelt, the third sentence, the dwelt verb is highlighted. So in this, these three highlighted words are the main verb of these respective sentences. Now lived is in the simple past tense. All these three are in simple past tense. Lived is the past form of the main verb live. Saw is the past form of see. Dwelt is the past form of dwell. So in the forest there lived a crow. So we can understand from this lived word that the whole story, or at least this sentence is occurred in the past time. Similarly, in with the word saw, we can understand that the action was taken place in past. Similarly, with the third section. So all these three sentences are written in simple past tense. Nothing else, only the past form of the main verb. Right? Now, how to form the simple past form of the verbs? So first of all, we have to remember that there are two types of verbs. One is regular verb and the other one is irregular verb. For regular verbs, there is no problem. Just add ed or d to the main verb, I mean the present form of the verbs, and it will become the past tense of the verb. Like work becomes worked, live becomes lived, want becomes wanted. The problem occurs with irregular verbs because these do not follow a fixed pattern, because their spelling changes. If you add add ed with c and make the spelling, for example, take the example of c and you add ed to make it as past tense, then the spelling maybe will be SEED, seed. That will be a different word. So for C, you have to change the spelling and you have to write saw to make it past. Go will be went, come will be came. Similarly, right? So these type of verbs are called irregular verbs. So for regular verbs, just add ed or d to the main verb and it will become the simple past tense. For irregular verbs, you have to change the spelling. So we have to remember what is the past tense of go. There is no word like goed like that or comed like that. It would be went or came, right? So we have to remember that. So regular verbs, we have done the regular verbs and irregular verbs. Now we will learn how to write negative sentences in simple past tense. So to make negative sentences, we have to use the phrase did not. Did not, then. So there are some example on the slide. He did not see the movie. The real sentence may be the actual sentences in present tense would be he sees the movie, right? He sees the movie. In simple past tense, it would be he saw the movie. But when we try to write negative sentences in past form, then we have to write he did not see the movie. Kindly note that we have not written that he did not saw the movie. We are not using double past. We are using only one past form, that is did. Did is the past form of the main verb do. Do's past tense is did. So he did not see the movie. Ravi did not tell a lie. It is not Ravi did not told a lie. Ravi did not tell a lie. Shyam did not go for the picnic. Right? If you write Shyam did not went for the picnic, it will be a wrong sentence. So you have to write he did not go for the picnic or Shyam went for the picnic if you try to write the positive one. And if you try to write the negative sentences, you have to write the did not phrase along with the present tense of the verb, that is the base verb. I hope you have understood this portion rightly. Then we will move on to interrogative sentences in simple past form. So to make it question or make it interrogative sentences, you have to add did and place that did word into at the beginning of the sentence. Like the normal sentence will be he sees the movie, okay, or sorry, he saw the movie. If I try to write it in a simple past tense, then the sentence would be he saw the movie. When we will we turn it into interrogative sentence, we have to first write he did see the movie, then put the did at the beginning of the sentence. Replace the he did and he words, just replace them. Then the sentence would be did he see the movie? And never forget to put the question mark after the sentence, at the end of the sentence. If you write that did he see the movie, then put a full stop, it will be wrong sentence. You have to put the question mark to make it proper interrogative sentence. So, did he see the movie? Did Ravi tell a lie? The normal assertive sentence would be Ravi told a lie. If we try to make it interrogative, then we have to write did Ravi tell a lie? Did Shyam go for the picnic? So, this is how we make the interrogative sentences in simple past tense. So, the formation will be did plus the subject plus base verb. Alright. Now, there are some literary devices, some rhetorics embedded in this lesson, like personification. Personification is a literary device where where the author or the poet gives human qualities to animals or non-human things. In this story, animals talk, think, argue and feel emotions like humans. Like the crow warned the deer, the jackal pretended to be a friend. So, personification makes the story engaging and teaches moral lessons in a simple way. And the literary devices in this story is fable. Fable is a short story while animals act like humans and a moral lesson is taught. In this story is a fable from Hitopadesha, because the crow, the deer and jackal behaved like people due to the personification. They talk, make friends and plan. And there is a moral in this story, like don't trust strangers blindly. True friendship is tested in difficult times. So, this story satisfies both the quality of a fable. The animals act like humans, the character are animals and they act like humans, and there is a moral lesson. So, this story is a fable. Now, some vocabulary enrichment exercises are there, like suffix and prefix. Suffix are a group of letters which are added at the end of a word, like teach becomes teacher, beauty plus fool becomes beautiful. So, teach and teacher are two different words, beauty and beautiful are two different words. So, we are making new words by using some phrases at the end of a word. Similarly, when we are making new words by adding some phrases at the beginning of a word, then we will call it a prefix. Like aware, we are adding un at the beginning of the word and we make it unaware. View, pre plus view, preview. Write, rewrite. Understand, misunderstand. So, these are two vocabulary enrichment modules there in this lesson, like suffix and prefix. These are I think very easy, and I hope you could understand that. Now, what are the themes of this story? So, what we have learned from this story, that true friendship versus false friendship, wisdom versus deceit, importance of listening to good advice, and greed leads to destruction. So, these are the four important themes we can find in this lesson. So, let's discuss these themes one by one. So, at first we have true friendship versus false friendship. So the story The Crow and the Deer highlights the contrast between true friendship and false friendship. And the crow and the deer are shown as real friends. The crow cares for the deer's safety and finally saves his life. On the other hand, the jackal pretends to be a friend but secretly plans to eat the deer. This teaches us that real friendship is tested in times of crisis, while false friendship ends in betrayal. The story also pretends the theme of wisdom versus deceit. The crow represents wisdom, always thinking ahead and acting carefully. He warns the deer about the jackal and later gives him the clever idea of pretending to be dead. The jackal, on the other hand, represents deceit. He tricks the deer with sweet words and false care, but in the end, his trickery fails. Another lesson in the story is the importance of listening to good advice. The crow warns the deer many times, but the deer ignores him and gets caught in a trap. Later, the deer himself admits that his mistake was not listening to his friend's advice, his true friend's advice. This shows that the words of wise and well-wishing friends shouldn't be ignored. Finally, the story teaches us that greed leads to destruction. The jackal's greed for the deer's flesh makes him betray his friendship. He waits for the deer to die so that he can enjoy his meat. But in the end, his own greed costs him his life. He is killed by the farmer's stick while the deer escapes. So that's all about the story, The Crow and the Deer. The moral lessons that we can learn from the story is that don't trust strangers blindly, value the advice of true friends, greed and betrayal always lead to downfall, and last but not the least, real friends help in times of crisis. That's all about the lesson, The Crow and the Deer. We will again meet with another lesson in our next class. Till then, goodbye.